Morning, everyone. Sunday, Pashas Vayakil. Xinukh. As we discussed it last week, the minute the child comes out of this world, he comes out with inborn nature. As nature, as the Eve mentioned in the Pasuk, Ve'ayr Peira Odam Ivulay. A person comes to this world with inborn nature of Ayr Peira Odam, like a wild donkey. It's an interesting definition, but that's how the Eve describes, that's what description the Eve provides us and Ben Odam. But Ayr Peira Odam Ivulay, like a wild donkey. A person comes out wild, is not well trained to the manners and this, how to live in this world. And we, as a parents, it's our job to train the child, to train and educate him how to properly behave and how to properly operate in this world. Sometimes Hashem gives a gewaldige present to parents, a very big present. A child, which this Pera Odom part sticks out the most by him, more than other kids. Sometimes have a child, he screams and he jumps and he breaks. And this the part of Pera Odom sticks out the most, more than by other kids. And sometimes this fact projects to parents certain feelings of iyush. Parents get discouraged and they're losing their hope that this child will ever be able to change in his life. But however, the Mashgiach from Kelam points out the gewaldige pshat. He's saying that the Odom, it's Ayr Peira Odom Ivulay. Even a child he's so wild, like a wild donkey. Still, he has opportunity and chance to be changed, to change his life, to convert from wild donkey to be Odom Masholim. And how? Through the Chינוך, through the training. We have to train him. The truth is, if we look in the world, we see that sometimes you go in the zoo, you see that even the animals can be well trained how to behave, how to do certain things. Not being educated, animal does not have grief, doesn't understand education. It's often understood. The way how in the zoo they change the behavior of animal to act totally opposite, different from its nature, is through the training. So a wild animal can be trained to behave differently, different than it with its preborn nature. Kol sheken, a human being which has a mind and has way more abilities. Of course, everyone can be trained to act differently than he was born with. Otherwise, the nature can be changed. Nature can be changed, but again, it's not we can't change the nature only through education. It's training. As we say in the Kabbalah Sotoya, it was Nase v'Nishma. Koydem Nase, first train, and then Nishma, then we'll learn. The education part brings out the beauty and brings the more effective results when person is trained how to behave. Once he behaves, then the educator understands why he's behaving, so then he appreciates the education. Education before the training, it really just irritates the pain and sometimes escalates negative behaviors of children and adults as well. It doesn't really matter how much the part of Pera Odom sticking out with this child. Still, through the Chינוך, through the training, consistent training with patience, what parents are providing to the child can be changed really to a different person, become different creation. But it has to be consistent and patient. That's the challenge, the parent challenge, to have the consistency, to have the patience to really invest time and effort to train the child. Yes, as we spoke last week, that once we have that understanding that the Chינוך contains two very important components, how to approach it. Component number one is to get the child to do purposeful actions, to do assay, to encourage to get the child to do the purposeful actions, as we said last week. And the second component is to recur the same actions on behalf of the child. Once we have that approach, again, as I said last week, this approach has to be like in front of the parents' eyes, constantly 24/7, cannot the end of our days. It has to be this approach. This approach has to be in front of our eyes. And this understanding will tremendously decreasing and decreasing the challenge of the parents to invest and be with the child throughout the time of the Chinuch. Today I would like to discuss a different component in the Chinuch, which is really, it's not really a component, it's more of awareness component, which is, this component applies not only to children, it's to adults as well. Generally, this component will be Negeya. Everyone can relate to it, and especially the kids. The component is, the Nakuda is, the Shinui. When a person experiencing certain Shinui, change of routine hurts. Change of routine causing certain discomfort for people. And this generally applies to all adults and especially to the kids. Especially to the kids. Why especially to the kids? Because child being like a soft soul in his younger years, the change of routine, change of bechlal, the change, it becomes very challenging for child to accept it. Again, as we discussed before, when the child comes out to this world, he already has an inborn nature of Pera Odom. And when the parent trying to change and to turn around and convert from the Pera Odom to Odom Hasholem, it's causing a big, this change, it's certainly a revolution within the child's soul. This to convert from Pera Odom to Odom Hasholem. And this change can cause and will cause a lot of discomfort to child. Although it does not hurt physically, but emotionally, this experience of disconnection and separation from being who he was before causes a tremendous pain. And this actually from the biggest pain was child has in experiencing when he all throughout the chinuch, the parent when we try to mechanech our child. The Yavitz in Pirkei Avos points out a gewaltige Nekuda. The Nekuda is as follows. Ki hashinu le'odom kosher. The change of routine for a person is hard. Al kein boichat tinuch kishiyoytze le'or. It's a very deep psychological observation. Yavitz explains in his words, at the time when everybody, when a person has a child, will get a child, Baruch Hashem, everybody is happy, besimcha will get zocher or kiddush, it's exciting, it's a very exciting time. But in this exciting time when everybody is happy, child is not happy. Child is certainly hurt and he cries. Why does he cry? Why the child cries? Everybody is happy. Because right now the child is experiencing a very deep change, a very aggressive change. He's changing his location. Because till now the child was living in more internal world and in a world of complete secure care, no effort, just being very comfortable, very geschmack in that internal world. And right now he's being pushed out to come to this world, the external world, a world full of challenges and it's a big change, a very major change. And this change hurts. This change hurts emotionally very, very much. And therefore child cries. Interesting. The child does not cry because he's happy to come here. He is totally not happy at all. He's not happy at all. He wants to be there. Lavdak, he wants to be there, but he wants to continue to be and stay in that routine that he was before in. And right now, his routine being completely changed. He's approaching a totally different location where he was before, and this hurts. That's what exactly the Yavitz says. The change for a person is hard. It's very hard to conduct a change. Therefore, therefore the child cries when he comes to this world. With this nature, child is born, and with this nature, he lives as adult until end of his days. This fact we also can see in our own selves. Sometimes we have certain routine, a certain way, and certain things how we do, and sometimes it happens that routine being changed. Even a slight change is it causes it kitzelt. It's like certainly internally a person feels a discomfort. Self-understood, everything depends on the level of the change, how big the change is. But every change certainly gives certain discomfort for people, even for adults. Sometimes we can feel, sometimes we had certain routine, and that routine was changed. Metamol, that was certain things which did not bother us in past, right now start bothering us. We start pick up, we become scrutinized, become certainly emotionally, not stable. Sometimes this, did not before did not bother us that this cup was stuck on the counter. Right now it bothers us the certain glass on the counter or whatever, even small things. What's shut in this? So sometimes a person asking himself, what's up with me? What's going on with me? Why do I feel so? Why do I feel like inwardly I'm not calm? So people start to judge themselves, and they feel like maybe they need to visit psychiatrist. Maybe he's not well, or no. The answer for no, everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is fine. We're all very healthy people. Why the emotions start to jump up, down, like not proportionally? It starts to, it causes certain discomfort. The answer for it is because shinui, my hergel, hurts. When you change your routine, when you change your location, when you change your habits, it hurts. People who stop smoking, let's say, and they would very heavy smokers, even not so heavy smokers, they can become very anxious, very certainly emotionally, they become not stable. What happened here? No one hurting them, no one bothering them. So why do they become so vulnerable? What's going on? The answer for it change. A person was waking every morning to smoke a cigarette, was smoking 5, 6, 7, 10 a pack a day, and now he completely abandoned that routine. It hurts. It hurts. Emotionally, it hurts, and it's something not something we have to deal with. It's something we have to just push and just move forward. And as time passes by, things just settle and adjust. The same thing by child. The same thing by child. When we train the child to change his manners, to change his behaviors, it's already after he was born. So we're trying again. His parent, he doesn't know how to eat. So now we have to train him how to properly eat. And we should not be aware of this concept that he's being right now changed. Certainly this internal revolution is going on within the child's soul. Therefore, be aware that child will act up the same way that we will act out when our routine is being changed, right? So I want to be aware of this concept. The operation of training the child, the Hinch, becomes certainly easier. I'll give the examples for it. Anytime a person being ripped off of his routine, his schedules, his natures, it hurts. We have to have this in mind, and like also having like in front of our eyes constantly, not only to understand and approach the child's soul, but even understand yourself. Sometimes it can happen that even before we change our schedules, before I would change our routines, we still have that anxiety. We don't know what anxiety from, but the anxiety awakes because the mind, the subconscious, like already preparing you of changing, therefore reviving that anxious feelings, but also not something we have to deal with. It just move forward. Accept those feelings, accept feelings of, it's very normal, very natural. When the person changing his routine, it causes discomfort. And just move forward. Don't deal with that. Just get by it. This Yisoid is not a new Yisoid. It's not a new concept. This concept we really got before we received Torah, before Kabbalah Torah. Pasuk states in Pashas Yisoid, Va'ato, and now, if you listen to my voice, Ishmartem is brisi. I'll keep the bris Torah Kedoshim. Klal Yisrael, they were still before Matan Torah. And before Matan Torah, Klal Yisrael, they were living totally different life of not having any kind of schedules, no manners, no distinguish between bad or good. They were just living Chaya Hefker. We always have to remember that before Klal Yisrael received Torah, they were slaves to Pari. for 210 years. 210 years they lived the lifestyle of slaves. It certainly leaves a certain impact on people living that lifestyle of slave. Lifestyle of a slave is not any different than lifestyle of Para Adam. I think the Abed, it's maybe even more Para Adam than some person. But at least they're on the Zicha, they're like at least on the same level. So here, Klaus, they were for 210 years avoiding slaves and power. They were working very hard, and they were living a lifestyle of slaves, meaning their behavior was slavery behavior. They were eating like slaves. They were talking like slaves, and they were like, "Lahavdil, Allah Abdullah, we can, go outside and see certain people which also were slaves, and they're still behaving like it." But so closer they were slaves. Now they come to Mekabel Torah. Torah is complete. It's revolution in their souls, because Torah is full of commandments. Torah is full of restrictions. Torah is full of schedules. And now you are giving this Torah, which is full of those very tight and very certain rigid the lifestyle you obviously trying to give to people closer who were totally not exposed to this lifestyle. How does that work? But here the Hashem says you have to be Mekabel Torah. And there's a very interesting approach. So how it was, obviously it was very hard for them to accept the Torah, because although they accepted Torah Nas and Nishma, but to keep the Torah for people with this kind of background of course was very hard for them. So the change was very hard. So how they were able to accept and keep the Torah. So before the Kabbalah Torah, before the Klal Yisrael start to change, before the Abba introduced Klal Yisrael to Chika Torah, to Dina Torah, Hashem tells them, Hashem discovers for Klal Yisrael of awareness. With this awareness will be for them easier to adopt the change. It will be easier for them to leave the change. As Rashi is saying in this pasuk, Kolas chulas kushas. Kolas chulas kushas. All the beginnings are hard. Why all the beginnings are hard? There's no physical pain. But Rashi said Kolas chulas kushas. Meaning to say that Hashem trying to tell them right now, you have one nature. You have a nature of slaves. And you should know that this nature is very hard. And right now with Torah, you are required to adopt a new nature, Teva Sheni, and it will be hard. They call it Kolas Chulas Kushas. It will be hard, but at the end, just be aware of that, but don't get discouraged, because as Rashi is saying, weiter, in Tekabel Aleichem, if you would just be aware of that, but still accept it and move on, the Teva Sheni, the new nature, will give you like certain sweet life and certain pleasant life. And as the Apostle Hashem saying that just understand this, call us full kushas, but don't get scared. Accept it and move forward. Don't judge yourself as a choile. Don't judge yourself as an emotional disturbed patient. Don't judge yourself, and understand that change, when you face the change, it will hurt you. It will cause you discomfort, because you're being ripped off from your conventional, your traditional nature you were behaving till now, and right now you're being converted to a totally different person. It hurts, it discomfort. But if you will keep up to it and you will understand it, it's new nature, you will become you will become my number one. There are 70 natures in the world, but you will become my number one. You will be my zgila. You will be the one who will be loving constantly. And when the parents know this concept, when we know this concept, we accept it. It will be way easier to conduct the Chinuch. It will be way easier we get more courage and more understanding. When we have this understanding, we in tune with this understanding, it's certainly the pain and rejection that the child, you receive from the child that they have, we don't perceive it as, so hurtful, because it's just normal. It's just the nature of change. Again, Rabbi say, you should know, change the routine causes pain. It's not the physical pain, but it hurts more than the physical pain. When we change routine, especially kids, it hurts and hurts. So, when a person is being hurt, there's a response. So I'll give an example. Let's say the first day in Cheder. Child goes the first day in Cheder, or girl goes to school. You should be aware that, so we are buying new briefcase, new uniforms, new shoes. We're preparing this child, but the child is constantly rejecting it. He's crying it, he's screaming, he's rejecting it. So parents in a certain level feel very rejected. The pain of rejection is tremendous. So we think that the child is rejecting our services. The child is rejecting our care for him. But it's not because the child appreciates the care. Child appreciates that parent cares for him by providing him with all nice zachen that the parent buying. Why does he reject? Why does he act up the behavior, the rejectful behavior? Then said the rejected behavior has nothing to do with the parents. The rejected behavior has to do with the child himself. Meaning to say, right now he's experiencing certain change, and this change causing the pain, and because of his inner pain that he's experiencing his own within himself, causes him to react and act the way he's acting right now. That's the number one example. It's also when we send the child to school, to yeshiva, to cheder, or he comes back. Very often happens, child comes to the back to the school bus, and the mother, greeting the child with a big smile, and the minute child walks in home, he starts to scream and cry and start to act up. So father feels very rejected by the child. Here I'm greeting you with a smile, with a hug, with a kiss, and now you're screaming, and sometimes the child can become physical as well. So the parents feel very rejected. Why? Because parents perceive that the child trying to reject the parents. But Etzel is not. The child is not trying to reject the parents. No, because he is experiencing right now, at this very moment, is experiencing the change that, going to the first time to yeshiva, coming back, cheder, school, he experienced certain change, and he has his inner conflict within himself that he's trying to overcome the pain of it, although he doesn't know, he's not even aware what's going on with him right now. But that's for exactly because he's in pain. So again, it's not to do with the parent. The acting up, when the child is acting up, at the time when he's experiencing the change, there's nothing to do with the parent. The child is not aiming to reject you. Child is not aiming to disregard you, disrespect you. Child push it. Simply speaking, this child is right now experiencing change, and the change causing the pain, and therefore he has inner conflict, which makes him and leads him to act the way he's acting right now. The same way when trying to train the child to eat properly, or to talk properly, or to behave in certain positive manners. Again, the child till now is a pere adam. He's wild. His nature, comes up with inborn nature of being wild. And the parent trying to introduce the child and train the child to more of human behaviors, human manners. Certainly, in his subconscious, child perceiving it, you're trying to rip me off from my previous lifestyle. Of course, child starts to become very resistive, and he's acting up the way he's acting up. So sometimes he can throw the plate, he can throw the chicken, he can spill water, he can spill the soup, whatever. So parents feels that like this child is it's impossible to be with him and to train him because he's constantly rejecting me. The answer for no, he's not rejecting you. He's not rejecting you. Why does he spin in the soup? He's throwing the chicken, he's throwing stuff, and he screams and he yells. The answer is for push it. It's nothing to do with the parent. He is right now. You're trying to train him in, introduce him to a different lifestyle. Certainly, you're ripping him off from pere adam style, and you're trying to train him to udam ashulam. And this change causes him a lot of pain. And because he has inner pain, which has to do with him only, he is acting the way he's acting right now. We're all acting out where we're experiencing the change. So it's the same way we have the change of routine causes us pain, self-understood, everything to do with the change, bigger pain, and bigger acting up, smaller pain, smaller change, smaller pain, and also more mild acting up behaviors. But child, due to his soft personality, soft stage, at the beginning of the years, everything is major for him. Any change is major for him. So therefore, he's acting also majorly, and majorly and certainly violently as well. So we never perceive the child rejecting us. Remember, children never reject parents. Never reject. The close people to you will never reject you. So it's just the rejective behavior, which being generated by certain inner emotions, inner discomfort the child is experiencing at this moment, but he's not consciously rejecting the parent. I'll give it another example, which is very common as well. Certain after Yom Tov, kids they got used to go to sleep later. It comes to after Yom Tov, so back to reality, back to the school. So we're trying to implement, we're trying to certainly enforce to go on time sleeping, and kids become, they're resisting this. So, and Versteits start to act up a certain way. So it's also, so start to scream, to yell. Sometimes he's even a child can use inappropriate words toward the parent. But the child is not rejecting you. He's acting rejectively, but he's not rejecting you. He just, right now, is experiencing certain different changes that he got used to 7 days, Pesach, Sikas, even Purim, so whatever it is. And right now, he's just in that stage still. And therefore, when you're trying to put back on the schedule, it's certain change causes the pain, and therefore he's acting rejectively, but not potentially rejecting the parent. The same thing, let's say, any changes causes the pain. So, and parents should not get hurt when the child acting rejectively, because he's not rejecting you. He has an inner conflict with change causes him. Therefore, he's behaving the way he's behaving. In order to help the child to go through this stage more pleasantly, it won't dispute the pain, won't dispute discomfort. The discomfort will still stay there, and the pain still stay there, because it's just the nature of human beings. When we approach changes, it hurts. But to make it more pleasantly, more calmer, the stage is just to tell the child, when child acts the way he's acting, just to tell him openly, tell him that I know that the way you're behaving right now is because you are facing the change, because you're experiencing right now change, and this change causes you the pain, and the pain causes you to act the way you're acting right now. But don't worry, I also have the same in my own life. When I experience change, it also hurts me, and I also acting out. So don't worry, I'm with you, because I can relate to these feelings. I can understand you, because I also experience this in my own life. When child hears that it's very major, very huge form of validation, and child starts to feel that you don't judge him, you understand him, you are with him, and he feels that he's not alone in his journey. He feels that he has you, and it provides a certain secure and support that it helps tremendously for a child to go through this period of change. It's we'll discuss it more barichos upcoming shiurim, but I will, it's also negated teenagers. Teenagers, meaning to say, it's totally different sugya about teenagers. But sometimes teenagers start to act differently. They change. It's first physical change and also emotional change. It's very important for father or mother to expose themselves to a child. Meaning to say, when a child, 16 or 15-year-old teenager, approaches certain change, which we all went through those changes, and he starts to act up certain very, sometimes weird behavior, sometimes very inappropriate behaviors. It will be very helpful for a child, for when a parent exposing himself to a child by telling him, I also had the same thing, and I can relate to it, because I also was a teenager and also experienced this kind of change. And I also felt the same, but don't worry, I'm with you. I'm here for you. I can relate to it. And I can relate to changes. So it will dispute from the child's mindset certain self-judgments he got in himself and certain guilt feelings. And it will escalate the process of changing the child. It will reduce tremendously the pain of change. And also it will just push faster the change. I mean to say, it will help the child, provide the child powers to adopt the change faster, to adopt it and just move on in life. Versus when we just feel that he's alone and come to this feeling and that change, it can take a longer time. So therefore, that's a very simple example, but it requires shtickle. It diminishes in certain level the ego of the parent, but it's nicht gefährlich. It's a certain good investment. Sometimes it's okay to put away the ego, so it will provide us with positive results. And yeshiva, kids have hard time in yeshiva. Chayder, machapnish. Some kids don't understand. And when the parents are just exposing himself to a child by telling him, it's change. I understand you. I can relate to it. Of course, the first statement will be rejected. But again, the child is rejecting you. He's behaving rejectively, but he's not rejecting you. But one time, privately, when the parents tell privately to a child that he can relate to it, and he also experienced change in his life, and he can understand him in very, very pleasant language, it tremendously will provide for a child support, care, understanding. The child will feel validated, and these words on their own will provide for a child with certain strength and power to adopt the change faster, so he can move on in life.